What if there was another way to actually live, a way that you can actually start to be in charge of your own healing, a way to get out of this survival mode and into creative mode? Well, it's my job as your host of the Healing Tree Hub to introduce you to some modalities that might actually make all the difference and to give you your power back. My name is Seher, and I have the pleasure of meeting you every week to discuss new modalities and new topics that are really making a difference out there. So buckle up and enjoy the show. Welcome back to the Healing Tree Hub. I am again very, very, very excited to introduce one of my dearest friends, Seher. She is an incredible woman that I have been really looking forward to interviewing. And this session is going to be all about intuition. And I couldn't think of anyone more interesting to ask and to speak about intuition. And she has some incredible fun stories that we would love to share. So without further ado, hello, and thank you so much for joining my podcast.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm super excited and I've just got the best vibe right now. I just feel really honored that you would ask me to do something like this. So thank you so much. I'm really excited.
No, thank you. Thank you. I really thought of you straight away when I was putting these podcast ideas together because we have some of the most incredible conversations. And I thought, oh my goodness, I wish the world could hear our conversations because the world would be such a better place if they got some of this vibe that we're sending out. So
That
why
is
not?
so true. So true. And you'd probably agree with this as well. I have some of the most wacky questions that I ask you. And I'm always like, I've always got a bank of questions. So every time I have a conversation with you, I've got some questions. I'm like, Sarah, what about this? And I love how you kind of explain it to me because it really is what I'm after, you know?
Yeah, I love that because the questions actually help prompt me to start really thinking outside of the box and then using my claircognate skills to be able to produce these answers for you. Or sometimes a little bit of channeling doesn't hurt as well, which you may have noticed in the past. So we better let our listeners know how we know each other and who you are and all of the interesting parts of the story. So first of all, we met at a program called Landmark, and I actually did mention Landmark in one of these podcasts. So for those of you that didn't hear, Landmark is an incredible personal transformation, I guess would be the best way to describe it. We just learned so much and we bonded because I remember seeing, I hope you don't mind me telling this story, but I remember seeing you on the screen and your skin was just beaming and you were just like literally full of light on the Zoom screen. And I remember messaging you and going, what's going on? You look incredible. What's happening? What have you done? And you told me about this product that you'd started using, Redox. And I was like, okay, get me some. I'm sorting this out too. And off we went on our Redox. What was that like for you? I'll pass it on to you.
I just it's actually really interesting because there was about was there about 80 to 90 people on that program?
Yeah.
And I just knew that you and I were going to be friends forever. And I think I told you this shortly after we met because you were just, I don't know, there was something about you that I just loved. You were so energetic and chirpy and lively. And I thought, this is my kind of person, you know?
Oh,
I agree
lovely.
with you. That's exactly how I felt when I first met you.
Yeah. No, and I loved your honesty and I loved that you questioned things that no one else in the class dare to question. And that was what sparked my interest in our friendship because I was like, you think outside the box. You don't just accept the answer. You want to know why. And I love that curiosity in you. That is so much fun.
That's, I might just add in here. I, I'm, it's got something to do with my blood. Like everyone's got a different blood group. And I used to always wonder why I used to ask really wacky questions, and it's got to do with my blood. So type B blood groups are highly curious people.
Oh.
And I've actually won two awards in a work setting for asking the most curious questions. So it's just something I don't sort of force the question. It's just I wonder and I think so deeply, you know. It's just part of me. Yeah, I like to question things. That's very true.
And I wonder if that has something to do with the topic of tonight and how you are in such a claircognient person. So you have such a strong intuition. And I wonder if that's because you question everything and you feel it and you get a sense of an internal compass of what truth is or what feels light to you. And I wonder if that helps your intuition.
I think so, yeah.
Hmm.
I always knew that there was something like not different, but something special about me.
Wow.
And it's only been in the last sort of year since that I've really discovered that this is an actual gift. It's a special gift. Not everybody has this. For example, if I look at somebody, even in a photo, I kind of can tell what sort of person that person is. And
Yeah.
I've actually shared this with people that I've just met, and they're like, how do you know that? And I used to just think it was just something that everybody could do. But since I've been on this health and healing journey in the last year, I've now realized that this is a special gift that I have. And
Wow.
I fully embrace that. And it's one of my, and you're right, it's an internal compass. So if I'm talking to somebody and they are saying something to me, but they are actually thinking something different, I can pick that up in an energetic sense. And I'll say, like, and I've said it several times to my husband, I really don't like the vibe of that person. I don't really think that that person has got good intentions, so I can pick up on these things in that sort of sense as well.
Yeah. I've seen you do it
Yeah.
in action. When we were at the Seher Redox uh, conference, that was when we really bonded as well. And we all I don't even know how to describe what happened, but this product, Redox, by the way, listeners, is absolutely incredible. It
Basically the biggest breakthrough in health. And it's won 6 Nobel Prizes since it's been established since 1998. And it basically is, they're signaling molecules. And there's nothing else like it in the world. There's only one company that makes it. So once you take that, your cells, all of your cells from tip to toe, get repaired, and basically you all your damaged cells become sort of repaired in a sense.
yeah.
So when that happens, you're healing, and there's so much to it. Like scientifically, it's so complex, but it's actually quite a simple thing to do. You just have to drink something. Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing is it is a holistic product, and we're not here to obviously sell or push this particular product. That's
Mm-hmm.
not, but it is part of our story and our friendship. So it does need to be
For
said.
sure.
And
And I do you remember, Sarah, sorry, when we were on that program, Landmark,
mm,
I kept saying, I love how we've got this, mindset sort of self-discovery thing going on. But what about our physical body? What about the
mhm.
physical body? And I kept saying that. And I manifested this product into my
You
life.
did.
And
I remember
since,
you saying
yeah,
that. I remember you saying, I manifested this. I manifest this into my life.
yeah.
Is what was missing.
And I kept saying, this is my missing link. And I never knew that a lot of the information sessions and webinars are actually called the missing link.
Wow.
So
Wow.
that's honestly how I framed it, and that's how it's framed out to the world.
And the thing
Yeah.
about this product, not only is it amazing for our health, but for me, it was actually a huge contributing factor to my next level awakening that actually moved me to actually start this business, Wallan Healing Tree. And you got to see it right at the forefront. And you must have been like, what is going on? I remember we went down to the conference, we were having a great time. And my aura reading, which I had suppressed for many, many years, I couldn't suppress it when I was there. I was looking at every single person and their auras were just so bright and vibrant. And I could feel the energy and sense the energy and understand and read it. And I kept saying to you, I can't shut this down. I don't know what's going on with me. And at this stage, I'd been on a Seher Redox Molecules for about 2 months, I'd say. And then everyone around us was having some sort of spiritual experience on this stuff. What was your
Yeah.
view on that?
Um, it's yeah, again, that's really interesting. I remember when we all got together, it was at the casino. We were all having
Yes.
we had dinner. You and I had dinner shortly before it, and then we all got together with the rest of the people that were going to join the conference. And one of the doctors that was attending the conference had a special necklace on. And again, with my questions, I was like, "Oh, what's that?" And he said, "This is rose quartz, and it converts radiation into positive energy, healing energy back into the body." And then it just sparked this amazing conversation where everybody just felt so safe to share their special experiences and gifts that they have. And I spoke about, dreams that I have that, end up becoming true. And then you started talking about your auras, and another friend started talking about their experiences. So it was just like a really safe place where people actually just got us, and we didn't sound like weirdos, we just sounded like people that had amazing like gifts.
Yeah.
That's
That
how it
brings
started.
me to my next question with you. So one of the main reasons why I wanted to bring you on is because we've got two very special gifts. You have some psychic phenomena in your dreams, and you always have, and you're also extremely intuitive. So would you be so kind to share a little bit about these dreams that you've been having throughout the years? Because we and my listeners
Sure.
have a ghost story or a glitch in the matrix or something that is a little bit outside of the norm, so they'll be
Yeah.
right on
Again, like this is something that because I've had them for so long, I kind of just didn't really think that they were anything spectacular. But I'd have these dreams where they'd be good dreams, and some would be for example, a couple of years ago we had a family friend who was unwell.
Yep.
And kept coming in and out of hospital, and I knew that he had a pretty significant illness, and he was not going to make it. So he was battling with a lot, and it just sort of out of the blue one day he just popped into my head in sort of a position where it looked like he was no longer living. And this is very true. It was just like a picture that came up. And anyway, I woke up and I called my dad and I explained to him. I said, "Have you been visiting such and such?" And he said, "Yeah, we were there last night. He's fine." And I said, "Dad, I think you need to go see him because this is what I saw in my dream." And then I remember my husband also wanted to go and see him as well. So I actually made them. I said, you guys need to go today. Like, you actually need to go today and see him. And I think at the time I was pregnant to my second child, so I was a little bit vulnerable myself. And so anyways, my husband and my dad went to visit him. And then, they came home, and within 6 hours, they got the phone call to say that he was gone.
Wow.
Like I said, some of the dreams, they may be negative in this sense. I mean, it depends on how you frame sort of death in a way. For some people, it can be quite peaceful. But I do get dreams that are quite uplifting as well. For example, I knew that my third child was a boy. I actually heard the
Yes, I love this
sonographer.
story.
He actually said, "It's a boy," but this time it was someone talking. It was like, it's a boy. That just gave me shivers all over my body now. And then I didn't say anything to anyone, but I wrote it down and I took a photo on my phone so I could say, "This is the dream I had on," and I had the date on the top. And then once it was confirmed, I was like, yeah, I already knew that this was a boy. And I remember, Sarah, you actually sent me, when I first told you I was pregnant, you sent me a gift, and it was all wrapped in like blue ribbons and blue, it was a bouquet, and it was so cute. And then I called you and you're like, "Yeah, I'm just getting boy vibes." And this was like 2 months before I had my dream.
Wow. Yeah.
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 And I just want to add to, again, with my dreams, something that I've learned to play around with. Sometimes when I ask for something, I get the message in my dream.
Oh,
Because a long time ago, there was this man, and I don't know, he had something against my father. Like, he was just so nasty to him and would just spread rumors about him. And I was very young. I was like, I don't know, probably like maybe 10 years ago. And I asked for that. I really wanted to know why this person kept you know, talking about my father out in the town. And I got the message in my dream. And he told me why he was doing this. And then it came up in a conversation one day. We're just randomly talking about it. And I said, yeah, I had a dream that this person was saying this about Dad, and this is why. And they both turned around and they said, yeah, we already know that. That's what he says. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know that they knew. But I got this message separately in my dream. Because I really wanted to ask for it. I really wanted to know. Yeah. That's another example of
that is phenomenal.
this
I
gift.
love these. I've even heard other stories. Every time I talk to you, there's a new little one here and there popping up.
True.
Love it. And it just never ceases to amaze me what the mysteries of what happens when we're actually sleeping. I just feel compelled to tell this story now. My little one, my two little daughters, they're very, very psychic or clairvoyant, and they're also mediums, mainly Georgia. So you can imagine that their dreams are pretty intense. And last week, they just had a series of nightmares. Like they just kept having nightmares. I'm saging like crazy and, putting my pyramid of white light around them, but they just kept having these nightmares. So we grouped up and we had a conversation. I said, all right, girls, you are in charge of where you go at nighttime. So let's repeat after me. And I gave them this little speech that they do not give permission to go to the lower realms and have scary dreams. They only give permission to go to the higher realms with high vibration and high energy, where they get to learn and enjoy and have joy. And they've been saying it every night, and not one night that they have said that to their own higher self and their own brain have they had a nightmare. So
Wow.
there's a lot of incredible astral work that happens in our dreams. And that's a whole nother podcast I think we need to put together at some stage, because
that's actually really good. Yeah. I agree with you.
Oh, absolutely. I just discovered it's a whole nother podcast. It needs to be
I just want
to
say to one thing that, like, I just want to say out to the world that I've been listening to every single one of Sarah's podcasts. I think this is number 6. Is it number 6?
It is.
And I've listened to every single one word for word, because she's just drawn me into this world. And a lot of these questions that might otherwise seem sort of unfamiliar to most people, it's just a place where, it just, like, I love this sort of stuff, just learning about new things and energy work and frequencies and law of attraction and all these special gifts. And each time I learn something different, but I just wanted to say that, I just wanted to give that out there, that you really draw, interesting messages.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, because this work, the whole point of putting these podcasts together was purely for my clients and my close friends and my community. Because a lot of my clients were saying to me after their sessions, we have these 2-hour full sessions where channeled energy comes through, and I'm talking extremely fast at them when I'm channeling. And then all of a sudden I'm dumping a whole bunch of amazing, beautiful, godly light into them. And then all of a sudden they just walk out and they go, I can't remember everything you said. So some of the main concepts that come up in these energy healing sessions, I have developed, like the fear not the boogeyman and law of attraction. These are really important conversations that people forget during the sessions. And I wanted to spread that as a free resource so that people can really just hang out with me and my mates and have a real conversation with real people that have their feet firmly on the ground and their heads high in the clouds. Pretty much. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I also want to just quickly add that I love the positive spin that you put on everything, and especially with the Fear Not the Boogeyman podcast, where, you're really delving deep into this concept of fear, and that this sort of talk does not have to be fearful. And I love how you're putting together a book on, this very topic, and children that have these special gifts and not fearing that. And I think that's beautiful. And I was saying to you the other day on the phone, I'm like, you better not forget me when you're famous one day. You better remember me. And you're like, oh, Seher, stop. But honestly, I just feel it's such a underdeveloped area. And
It
I
is.
love how you're just bringing it out from the dark.
No,
You
it's
know,
so much fun.
it's beautiful.
Honestly, so much fun. I can't stop. It's like an obsession, this work. It's so much fun. And you just wait till the online courses come out.
Oh, wow.
Watch this. And I just finished my first ebook as well. So that's coming out very, very soon. Just finishing the artwork, and it's based on chakras and how to self heal your chakras, which will be
Oh, wow.
turning into an online as well. So watch that space. It's all happening. My ADHD brain is on overdrive with it. So
You're
it's
amazing,
all a bit of fun.
Seher.
Anyway, that's why I always say my ADHD is my superpower. It gets things done, and it gets me into this obsessed mode of just being absolutely enthralled in my subjects. And yeah, it's a great superpower. Well, let me get
Love
us
it.
back on track. I want to talk about your intuition, and it would to really give the listeners an understanding of your intuition and how incredible you actually are. I would love to share the story of your distant energy healing, and I would love your consent for that.
Yeah, sure.
Cool, thanks.
Yes. Yep. It's funny
Obviously,
because
with
I
that,
remember, and I just want to be totally honest, and I probably haven't said this to you before, but I was kind of, I don't know, not maybe a bit apprehensive, maybe a bit fearful of such a session. I don't know why. But then it was like 2 days before I gave birth, you called me like, right, we're doing this distant healing. And I'm like thinking, oh shit. That was honestly my reaction. It was. And I'm like, there you go, Seher. You're not getting out of it now. But then
yeah.
when we did it, I was like, this is what I needed.
Oh, it was
It was,
incredible.
this is
Wasn't
what
it?
I needed. Yeah.
Oh, and I held off from doing distant energy healings as an energy healer for so long because I didn't understand. And I'm a bit of a science person as well as an energy person. And I really needed to understand the nooks and crannies and understand why it worked, how it worked, to really be authentic with it. But then when
Mm-hmm.
I realized I don't actually understand how the internet works, and I don't actually understand how the TV screen gives me a picture or the radio, but I still believe in it. So what's
Yeah.
the difference? Let's give it a go. And since I've been doing distant energy healing, it's now my favorite thing to do. I absolutely love it. And some of my healings, they come through so visual and so strong that dare I say, it's stronger. It really is stronger than even physically
Wow.
being with the person, which makes no sense at all, but it's a thing. And I'm sure other energy healers would feel the same way. So when I remember wanting to do your distant energy healing because you had a lot of fear about having your third child. You'd obviously had quite a lot of trauma that
Mm-hmm.
you dealt with in the past with birth. So we wanted to just give you a session that would take the fear away or eliminate the fear, but we got so
Yep.
much more than we bargained for. Didn't we?
Well, now that you say that, I think that's what I was fearful of. I was fearful of you picking up on the fear. I don't know what it was. Like I just, like I was talking before about when, like this is such an unfamiliar space, even for me. Like I've only just recently started. I mean, even it's mainly been with you that I've really been delving into my spirituality and talking about my special gifts because most people don't get me in a way. So I knew that you would, pick it up in me, and you did. You did.
Yeah. There's no hiding when a healer is inside that that vortex of energy, and really, sending that beautiful energy and removing any dense energy from the chakras. There's no hiding. We see
Yeah.
so much, and it's all with love and compassion and zero judgment, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to do this job.
Yeah.
And so we went in and we cleared all your beautiful chakras and drained we actually transformed a lot of the fear vibration to love vibration using the beautiful purple violet light that I work with. It was absolutely stunning. And it was very visual and it was very sensory and it was wonderful. But when we got to your sacral, there happened to be a baby in that area. So it got really, really interesting. And for those listening, we're about to get a little woo-woo, so just hang in there. But sometimes when I'm doing healings, I can actually, I'm clairaudient, so it means that I get messages. And it sounds like thoughts in my head, but it's actually messages from spirit. I warned you that it was going to get woo-woo. And the baby, the spirit of the baby, started to give me messages for mum.
Mhm.
And I even got a flash of what he would look like. And the baby basically was so cheeky, the cheekiest personality ever. And he was giggling and he was saying, she's going into labor on my sister's birthday, which was 2 days ahead.
Yeah.
And laughing about it, he thought it was hilarious. Really, really thought it was funny. And he just wanted to send so much love to you and to reassure you that it's going to be okay. It's all going to end
Yeah.
up okay. You're going to have the healthy baby. You're going to be fine. Like, it's going to be okay. And he just really found it really important that you had that message. And it made sense because the journey you were about to take was
Mhm.
was quite intense. So tell me from your point of view what that experience was for you.
I remember I wanted to sit in the sun. So I wanted to sort of be in a comfortable atmosphere. So I was outside by myself in the sun, and you know, I had my eyes closed and I could feel like these different energies. I could feel like colors going up and down. Like I could actually feel them all and see them with my eyes closed. And I remember it was like the middle of the session and I was just sobbing. I just ended up crying. Something just popped into my head, and again, it was these fears leading to my birth, because it's something that I think you're going to ask me about, but I just knew that this birth was going to be different to my other two. And when we finished and you sort of told me the message from him, you said, Seher, your baby said, can you please tell my mum to stop worrying? I'm okay and everything's going to be okay. And when you said that, I was just so happy to hear that message. And because I was due sort of 4 days, so 5 days ahead of this session. And you said that, no, you said, no, I think he's going to come before that. And I'm like, well, I'm hoping that he won't, because I'm getting my stuff ready for the next 5 days. And you said, I have a funny feeling he might come on his sister's birthday. And we all just flipped out when he actually did. So now I've got two kids that were born on May 19th out of all days. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I when you rang me and told me again, I was not surprised at all, because I trust in spirits, when they give me messages, they don't muck around. And but I was just giggling like, oh, what a cheeky, he orchestrated that. I really felt like he was being a smarty pants.
Can I just chuck in here
But
as well, Sarah? You said that you saw a lot of ancestral people and a lot of people that
oh,
sort
Ned
of
Kelly,
support
yes,
me.
tell Ned Kelly
But
story.
yeah, and then you said, oh, and there was a man that came up and said, I'm looking out for them, so don't worry. And you described the person to me as Ned Kelly. So you said he kind of looks like
What?
Ned Kelly. And um my father-in-law, like, we're quite spiritual people, and back at home, overseas, my father-in-law, before sort of before they came out to, they're actually visiting us at the moment. Before he came out and before my birth, he went to a very we have spiritual people, spiritual elders, and when they pass away, they create like a special little what do you call it, like a tomb for them, a
Yeah.
little house where they're housed in, and their grave is actually in this little spot, and they have, people that come and visit. And I remember he was telling me about him and how he was praying that everything goes well for us at his worshipping house. And after our session, I messaged him and I said, oh, my friend saw somebody in my session. And he totally gets me because he's really spiritual. And I said,
Yeah.
can you send me a picture of this person that you're worshipping or like praying at? He sent me a
Yeah.
photo, and we
Wow.
just flipped out because it was like Ned Kelly, and the
I
beard and
know.
everything. Like, I've still got that photo on my phone, and I sent it to you, and you're like, yes, that's him.
I'd
So
love to put that as the picture of the
yeah,
actual
it's so weird because I put the photo next to him and I like in an instant I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe that you actually saw him
Yeah,
and
I mean, I
described
saw
him
it
out
in
of all
detail, like that
people.
square set
Like
face and
you
the
could have
nose.
said, you know, that you could have, I don't know, for example, I'm just saying this for people who think that we're, you know, full of beans. Like you could have said something like, oh, he was bald or he had, you know, blue eyes or whatever. But no, you said he looked like Ned Kelly, and this person looks exactly like Ned Kelly. And the photo that I was sent was just the exact same one as Ned Kelly.
And it was
So
exactly
I
like
love
my
how you
husband.
call it Ned Kelly. The Ned Kelly story.
It was so funny. I remember I was like on a high all day that day because that was like the start of my
Mm.
vision premonition stuff that I was getting. Because now I'm getting it all the time, but that was like the start of seeing the visions, and it just spun me out. The photo was exact. It was like they showed me that
And
photo.
I
It was exactly.
loved I that's what I love every time I talk to you. It's we could talk for hours if we can, but I'm always asking things like I really want to know, like what you said before, I want to know the truth. I want to know sort of there's something in me that always wants to delve to more. And I kept saying, what was he saying and what was his energy like? And you're like explaining it, and I'm sort of that's what satisfies my soul, I guess, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah. There's a
to find out. Yeah.
never ending amount of knowledge that comes through channeling. That's the best part
Yes.
about when I channel, because it's not coming from me. It's not my knowledge. So many of my auntie said, my auntie and my cousin Bianca were talking to me yesterday about my podcast, and they're like, "How do you know this?" I'm like, "It's not coming from me." Like I know a lot, but it's literally streaming. And my
Yeah.
cousin said, "Yeah, I noticed it. Yeah, there's
It's
something
beautiful.
there going, like it's quite quite you." So I feel weird telling people that I'm channeling, but I also don't want to act as if it's me and take all the credit. Doesn't really matter if it's channeling. It doesn't really matter if it's all me and my subconscious and I'm making it up. It doesn't actually matter. It's the message that matters. And as
Yes.
long as it resonates, well, it doesn't actually matter what I'm doing, as long as it's
Hmm.
true and it's authentic and it's from the heart. Now, enough about me. I want to hear about
Can
your
I,
birth story before we put.
Sarah, just before we go on, can I just say how after that session you said to me, I loved how you took action. It's like you knew what my vulnerability was and you just took action. Like I said, when you called me, like, right, we're doing a session tomorrow. Are you free at 10? And I'm like, that was our first session. And then to finish up, you did a session after that day as well. And I remember
Yeah.
I was kind of, I felt vulnerable like the day before, but during that session, there was no fear. There was no gut wrenching cry. There was like nothing. It was just, I was actually able to process those emotions a lot better.
Yep. That's
It was
right.
really
Yeah.
evident in my second one. Yep.
Yeah, it was like it was meant to be interrupted the first one,
Yep.
and because children interrupted us on the first one, and then and we'd gotten the crown and the third eye, and I think that was as far as we got. And then you were cleared enough, the fear was diminished enough to be able to start really focusing. So it was exactly what was meant to happen. These things happen
Yep.
for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
So the last section of this podcast, because I could talk to you for hours, so I knew this one was going to go over time. So apologies to our listeners, but
Sorry,
this is
Sarah.
so worth it. No, it's my fault. I can't stop talking to you. So so the next part of this, sorry, I want to ask you about your birth experiences. I think it's going to help a lot of people, not just people expecting, but people that are learning to trust their own intuition and opening up to that. Because, we spoke a lot in The Fear Not the Boogeyman about there is no need for fear in your world if you can trust your intuition. So,
Yep.
can you tell me a little bit about your birth story? So, 2 days after this healing, can you tell
Sure.
me what happened?
2 days after this healing, I was doing last minute jobs at home, got his cot ready in the room. And then I was organising tickets for my in-laws to come to Australia. And believe it or not, as soon as I made payment, I got my first contraction. And that just, again, gave me shivers all across my body. And I just knew that this was it. I was going into labor.
Wow.
And then my computer decided to freeze, and I was trying to save the tickets, and that wouldn't work. So I'm just saying to myself, okay, just calm down, Seher, it's fine. You know, I know baby number 3 comes pretty quickly, but I don't think it'll be that quick, so you'll be okay. Anyway, my second birth was, I had some issues after the second birth. So it was kind of seen as high risk for me to go naturally. And that's the reason why there was a planned C-section for me, so an elective C-section. But because I went into early labor, and mind you, this was my biggest fear, going into labor before my my scheduled cesarean date, went to the hospital, and with very good intentions, the doctors tried to talk me, you know, they wanted to see if I wanted to go natural, you know, and I just kept explaining, look, this is planned and this is the reason. But they were really quite, you know, they really encouraged for me to go naturally. And I sort of looked at him and I said, look, I just need some time to think about this right now. So he left the room, and I was just thinking, you know, for a good hour. When he came back in, I just said, look, I'm not fearful of natural birth, and I've had 2 naturals, but something inside me is saying, don't change your mind. Yeah. And I was, for that whole hour, I was actually trying to convince myself to go natural. I was like, oh, you know, it'll be fine. You know, I can get the epidural and, you know, I'll be okay. But then something just kept saying to me, don't change your decision, stick to your C-section. I just couldn't pinpoint what it was. And funnily enough, very early on in my pregnancy, I knew that this birth was going to be very different. It wasn't going to be natural. There was going to be some sort of complication that I couldn't put my finger on, but I knew that it was going to be unrelated to the problems I had after my second birth, and I just didn't know what it was. Anyway, I said to him, I'm going to stick to my decision, and this is what I'm going to have. I'm going to stick with a cesarean because something inside, and I actually said this to the doctor. I said, look, I have a very strong intuition, and my inside is saying, do not change your decision. And they were very respectful, and they said, that's fine. It turns out my baby was actually in a posterior position, which is one of the most worst positions to give birth in. It's when the biggest part of the baby's head comes out first. And it could lead to all sorts of things like, you know, medical intervention and hemorrhaging. Anyway, it can be quite a disastrous birth naturally. Yeah. So he was posterior, and I had no idea about this until that very moment. And secondly, he was born 4 kilos. So these were the 2 things that intuitively my message was saying, my internal compass, if you like, was saying, don't change your decision, stick to the cesarean. And now I think that honestly, you know, I believe in higher powers, whether you want to call it God or whatever it is. I do believe that there is these energies, and I feel like I was protected in those hours leading up to my cesarean, and I feel like God was basically protecting me from going into full-blown natural labor, and protecting me to go into the cesarean. I really feel this because I was there for about 16 hours, 16 long hours, and I was having contractions.
Crazy thing, like the contractions didn't progress while you were waiting.
That's right. And the contractions stayed the same, at the same tempo for 16 hours before I actually had my cesarean. And I honestly feel that was God looking out for me. And my intuition was dead set spot on. Wow. And that's why it was unrelated to my second birth, posterior, and 4 kilo baby. Yeah. So I had issues with a 3 kilo baby. I don't know what it would have, I didn't even want to think about what would have happened if it was, you know.
Everybody's so different. And just be, you know, for the listeners, just in case there's someone pregnant with a 4 kilo baby and they're freaking out right now, every single human body is different, but you know for a fact you had issues with a 3 kilo baby and it wasn't sunny side up. So these issues would have been pretty extraordinary for your body and your
Oh, for sure.
experience.
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah.
it, for sure. I just
Wow.
feel that this was the best decision for myself and my baby. And now I just I just embraced that scar, and I just think this was the best thing that could have happened for both of our safety. And I agree. Like, look, I was actually a 5 kilo baby. My mum delivered me naturally. Yeah, I was very close to 5 kilos. My mum delivered me naturally, and there's so many women that can,
Oh yeah,
give birth to, you know, 4 kilo plus babies. So, like you
absolutely.
said, everybody's body is different. But in this instance, my intuition was saying, do not change your mind. Don't
Yeah.
change your mind. And even though I was trying to force my mind to, convincing myself to go natural, because recovery from natural birth is different to cesarean. And now that I've had 2 naturals and 1 cesarean, I know the difference in my body anyways. And yeah,
Yeah.
my compass just my intuition just kept saying, yeah, this is how it's going to be. And yeah, I'm so happy that I
Absolutely.
trusted it.
Oh,
I'm so grateful
without
that
doubt.
the doctors and that sort of didn't take it any further than that either. They respected that decision.
Yeah. No, that is wonderful. Kudos to the doctors. Absolutely. Oh, and that's brilliant. Look, there's so many different examples that you have, but I love that you shared this one because there's a lot of, I think when you mentioned before how vulnerable you can be when you're about to give birth, and that is so true. And I really feel like when I was pregnant, my intuition was through the roof. Like it was this extra superpower I had to keep me and baby safe. So, but your intuition's always on tap. You have this ability. Every time I speak to you, there's a new intuition story. I love it. So, keep listening to that intuition. Keep developing these beautiful skills and keep sharing these stories because I'm loving it.
I love chatting
Oh,
with you, Sarah. And I know that every time we talk, I've got to make sure that I've got like a good hour, because I've always got like bursting questions and questions that nobody else that I know can answer. I'm like, oh, another one for Sarah. So I love
oh,
our conversations because they're all always different. I love learning from you and your knowledge. And yeah, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being
and
a
I've
good
learned.
friend, but also a friend where I can actually, um, feel so safe and just ask these questions that some people might feel are a bit woo woo. I love having a friend where I can share all my woo woo things with.
Absolutely. And I've learned so much from you as well. I've learned so much. I love that you introduced me to Redox. Because that's just my go-to for, pumping up my intuition and my health. And I use it before every single healing. It's really important. It's a necessity for me, I
I
find.
love that.
But I also, like, I've even used your stories and our conversations where we've both spent time learning together in my workshops that I do. I've mentioned them. I've spoken about some like really profound um, conversations that we've had that, I've had epiphanies and
Yeah.
realizations with. So you have been such a huge part of my journey.
Mm.
And I know for a fact, if I didn't meet you and go to that conference and have your support, I wouldn't have signed up for my first energy healing session, which would have meant that I wouldn't have had my attunements that re-invoked all of my abilities and then set this business up. So you're a huge part of this.
Oh.
And thank you. Thank you so much for
Well,
being
I
my friend.
believe everything happens
Um,
for a reason, and I think in a sense I've manifested someone like you in my life, because these are questions I've always wanted to ask, but I've never had anybody that I could ask it to. And when I found you, and I think very early on in our like friendship, we sort of lightly touched on our spirituality. And I think I mentioned dreams, and then you told me about your auras. Do you remember that?
yes.
And I was like,
Yes.
oh my
Yes.
God, this is so cool, because it's like a friend that I've always wanted to have. And do you know how many people I've told you about? I'm like, oh, I've got a friend that can read auras, and I've been telling them about your business, and telling them experiences that I've had with the sessions that I've had. And I just think, yeah, you're doing some amazing stuff. So I think
Oh,
you should be really happy
so
with
you
what
love.
you've accomplished so far.
And right back at you, because your business is doing exceptionally well as well. So super, super proud of you. And just keep asking those questions because you're really helping me to explore more. And I love it. And thank you so much for taking the time out tonight to share your stories, being vulnerable. These aren't easy stories to share with the world. So I really, really appreciate your vulnerability and openness. And I'm sure my listeners do as well.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And I
So,
loved how just before we started, I told you that I was a bit nervous and that I haven't prepared for anything. And you just put me into this amazing vibe before we came on. So I was super excited about, what was in store. So thank you so much for that as well.
oh, no worries. We're always just winging it on this show, and that's the way it needs to be. Everyone that comes onto my podcast understands that we have a bit of a plan of what we're going to speak about, but I really just want the world to see some of the cool conversations we have. That's really what I mean, I'm doing this podcast after 3 energy healing sessions today, so my brain is dead. I'm in a closet to buff the volume. And we're just
That's
having
right.
a bit of
I'm in my
fun.
car. I've told you I'm sitting in my car because I needed to get away from the kids and noise. So I'm sitting in the car and it's pitch black,
That's
but
right.
it's good.
There's no perfection needed for these podcasts. It's about the content and getting the message out and having a bit of a giggle and not taking it too seriously. So thank you so much for joining me. And for those listening, thank you so much as well. Really appreciate all the support.
Thank you so, so much.
What a great interview. I am having so much fun recording these podcasts and sharing this knowledge with you. If you think that you have some really cool stories or something that you would like to share on this podcast, I would love to hear from you. So please feel free to reach out. And if you would like some more information in regards to my company, Wallan Healing Tree, and the services that I provide, I would absolutely love to hear from you too. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, or www.wallanhealingtree.com. Thanks very much again for listening and keep choosing kindness. Bye.